So we're going to do a little introduction to matrices and talk about matrix operations. Matrix operations. So just to get familiar with what matrices are. That's a plural of the word matrix. So what a matrix is where we organize a bunch of values in different rows and columns. It's just a number value, no x's and y's, but it represents certain spots of x's and y's sometimes. So you can translate a system of equation into a matrix where we just take the coefficients and the constants. But for now, let's just talk about how to work with these. So in a matrix, if we, like I said, it's kind of organized with rows and columns, kind of like a chart. So let's say we have m rows and we have n columns in our matrix. We would say that the order of the matrix is m by n. So we'll go back to this in a second. But first, addition and subtraction of matrices is we just either add or subtract the values in the corresponding location. Corresponding locations. So whatever is in the same spot, that those values get added or subtracted. And then scalar multiplication. So if we multiply a matrix by a scalar, a value, then we can just multiply each part or each value. So for example, let's look at, let's see, I think I'm going to run out of room, so I'm going to have to erase this. So let's say, for example, matrix A is, okay, so how we show this is with a bracket, and I'm going to have two rows here. So the first one is 3, and then 5 is in the next column, and then my next row is -4, 0. And then I'm going to show ending up bracket. So notice that this would be, the order of this one would be 2 by 2. That would be the order of matrix A. 2 columns and 2 rows. So 2 by 2. Matrix B, this one's also going to be a 2 by 2. So 2, -6 is the first row, and 2, 1 is the second row. Okay, so in order to add matrices together, let's see, this is 2 by 2. So in order to add or subtract matrices together, it would have to be the same order, 2 by 2, 2 by 2, because otherwise if, so right now we're going to do 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus -6 is -1. So if you see if we had another column, let's say, well, there'd be nothing to add it to. So it only works if it's the same order with adding and subtracting. So 3 and 2 is 5, 5 and -6 is -1, -4 and 2, -2, 0 and 1 is 1. Same with subtraction. If we want to do A minus B, we just subtract the corresponding values. 3 minus 2 is 1. 5 minus -6, minus -6, that'll turn into plus. 5 plus 6 is 11. -4 minus 2 is -6. 0 minus 1 is -1. So we just do the corresponding values. How about 4A? So here's where we have a scalar. 4 times each value in A. So I look at A. For each one of these, I'm going to multiply by 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 5 is 20, 4 times -4 is -16, 4 times 0 is still 0. Okay, so those would be my new matrices based on my operations. So that's add, subtract, and scalar multiplication. Now let's look at multiplication of two matrices together. Matrix multiplication. Matrix multiplication. So here, if we have, let's say, matrix A is of order m by n. One thing that we need to make sure is that b, the order of b, it has to be n by some other value. We'll say p. So whatever the value of the column in the first one needs to be equal to the row in the second one. We can kind of think of it like we're doing m by n times n by p. It's like these need to merge together, and what we're going to end up with is an m by p matrix. So our answer is going to be m by p. Okay, and so I'm going to give a somewhat formula to this. There's some very more detailed ways to represent this, but basically, I'm going to start this off. If I have, let's say, row 1, row 2, row 3, keeping on going, and I'm going to look at my rows and my first one going this way, so because we're looking at rows. If we multiply this by column 1 going down, column 2 going down, so forth. So it can keep going. So what we do in this first spot right here, I'm going to take row 1 times row C1, row 1 times column 1. And when I multiply that, I mean, I've got multiple values here, these times these. So what I do is I multiply the values in each spot and add them together. So in these spots here, it's the sum of products of each spot. So right here, row 1 by C1, let's say going down. Next, row 2 by C1 is underneath. And then row 3 by C1, and so forth. Okay, versus then if I go to the right, you know, let's say right here, well, right now I'm in row 1, but I'm in column 2. So it's going to be row 1 by column 2. Okay. If I go down to right in this spot, I'm in row 2, column 2. Or row 3, column 2. Keeping on going. Okay. So, and if that, hopefully once we do an example, it starts to make a little more sense. So let's go back to that one we had just done with A is, and maybe you don't need to rewrite this if you still have it in your notes, 3, 5, negative 4, 0, and B is 2, negative 6, and then the next row is 2, 1. Okay, so notice this is a 2 by 2 by a 2 by 2, 2 by 2 by a 2 by 2. My answer is going to be also a 2 by 2. We'll do another one after this where it's a little different. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this. 3, 5, negative 4, 0, so they're right next to each other. 2, negative 6, 2, 1. Okay, so in my first spot, this is where I do row 1 by column 1. So like I said, we're going to take the sum of the products of each spot. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 2 and add 5 times 2. So I do 3 times 2 plus 5 times 2. Okay, so that is going to be in that spot. That'll be 6 and 10 is 16. Okay, now I go right here. So now I'm doing row 1 by column 2. Because right here, notice, you know, this is column 1, column 2, row 1, row 2. So right here, I would take row 1 by column 2. So 3 times negative 6 plus 5 times 1. Let's be negative 18 plus 5 is negative 13. Okay, now I'm going to go down to the spot. Now I'm on row 2 by column 1. So negative 4 times 2 plus 0 times 2. So negative 8. And then last right here, I'm going to do negative 4 times negative 6 plus 0 times 1. So positive 24. Okay, so it's that. Row by column. Row by column. let's do one more of these matrix multiplications. So let's do, this one I'm not going to give it an A and B, and I'm just going to write it out. So this first one has 2 rows. The first row is 2, -1, 0. And then the next row is 1, -3, -4. And then the next one is going to be 3 rows. And it is -2, 1, -1, 0, 2, 0, and 5, 1, 4. Okay, so let's kind of think about this one. This one is a 2 rows by 3 columns. So it's a 2 by 3, and I'm multiplying this by a 3 by 3. So notice these have to be the same, so that then it ends up being a 2 by 3 for my answer. So in using what we just kind of talked about, let's see how that works out. Okay, so it should be a 2 row by 3 column. So I'm going to take row 1 times column 1. So 2 times -2, this time I'm going to start jotting down the values when I multiply them. 2 and -2 is -4 plus 0 plus 0. So in that spot I just have -4. Now I'm going to go row 1 times column 2. So 2 times 1 is 2. -1 times 2 is -2. 0 times 1 is 0. So 2, -2, 0. So that is going to be 0. Okay, next, row 1 by column 3. So 2 times -1, -2. -1 times 0, 0 times 4. Makes it easier when we have a lot of zeros in here. Okay, so that was a row by each column. Now row 2. Row 2 by column 1. 1 times -2 is -2. -3 times 0 is 0. -4 times 5 is -20. So -22 right there. Now go to the second column. 1 times 1. -3 times 2 is -6. -4 times 1 is -4. 1, -6, -4 is -9. And then last, 1 times -1 is -1. -3 times 0 is 0. -4 times 4 is -16. So -17 right there. So that kind of made sense that I ended up with a 2 by 3 for my answer then.